All right, everyone. We are live with Investor Thrive. This is the Painless Wholesaling Podcast where we try to make wholesaling painless and real estate painless for you guys. And because I am Nathan Payne, and my goal is to make things easier for you. Real estate can be difficult, especially if you're up against the world by yourself. So that's why I bring on experts like Neil Timmons right here to show us the way, to show us how to make real estate a little bit easier, a little less painful. All right. So, hey, Neil, thanks for coming on the program. Thank you.
Nathan, it's good. It's good to be here. I appreciate the invitation. Thanks so much. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yo, I'm excited to learn more from you. You had me on your podcast a little bit ago, and I appreciate that. So returning the favor, and that's what it's all about, networking and connecting, right?
That's exactly right. And good. Dude, we had a great conversation when you were on. I know that's rolling out any day now. We may have just rolled it out. So if your audience hasn't seen it, I know they should absolutely tune in. We'd had a great conversation and learned a lot about you and what you do. So
Exactly.
it's great.
Yeah, I think you just rolled it out. I actually put it on my site where people could go check it out. So everybody, if you want to check out the conversation and Neil's his own podcast, it's Real Grit, right? Real Grit
That's
podcast.
exactly right. Yeah, you got
Yeah,
it.
go check that out. I think the premise of your podcast is really cool, isn't it? To show people the real deal about
It's
real estate investing.
it's a real deal, baby. You got it. Yeah, it's to pull back that iron curtain. There's so much of what we see, and Nathan, you've seen it, and we all see it from Facebook. It's not all about Lamborghinis, right? It's not all about.
Nah, it's
It
not.
takes real work, and we pull back that curtain and have real conversations with folks about what it takes to make it in this business. And I love that's what you do, right? That's what
Yeah.
you're building your network, your group, your society, if you will, to make it easier, to make it less painful.
Right,
So it's
because it can be, right? Like,
for
that's
sure.
why I do this is because, I think there's a lot of gurus, a lot of people out there, if they so-called gurus, that they portray this as it's an easy thing, right?
You're exactly right that it's somehow wave a magic wand and you get this whole thing. It can be real work, but by having conversations and from you showing somebody how to make it easier, and certainly I do that in the commercial side, show people how to make it a whole lot easier so you don't have to go through the
Yeah.
trials and tribulations, the bumps and bruises that I had to go through to learn it the hard way, if you will. It can be easier, but yeah.
That's awesome. And that's what I love about, connecting with you, Neil, and others. It's just like, look, we've been through there. So we're trying to like
Sure.
show an easier path, right? Or sure, not necessarily easier, but just try to take away the bumps and the bruises that maybe we had and we don't want other people to face if they don't have to, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You don't want to think about it. When I think about my kids, so I've got 3 kids, 16, 14, and 13. When I think about what they go through as a parent, I don't want them to have to experience any pain or any suffering that I know that they can avoid, right? So there are certain things
Right.
that I teach them to shortcut or to totally eliminate those things. Same thing goes with
Yeah.
investing. That's exactly what you're going through, and hopefully we can add some value to your folks today with the conversation we're going to have. And
Well,
I can do the same for your audience.
Well, I love it. All right, sounds good. So let's dive right in. So Neil, give us a short 30-second, maybe a minute, I guess summary of who you are for people that don't and maybe never seen or heard of you
Yep.
and that don't know you. Let's kind of
Yep.
dive right into
Yeah,
that.
I'm out of Des Moines, Iowa. So I started my real estate career in 2004. So 18 years ago, my mom got into real estate the year before me. She had been a stay-at-home mom, raised myself, my 3 younger brothers. So literally like 20 years out of the workforce. She got in as a realtor. I was working at a bank at the time. So she's in a year. We're swapping, comparing pay stubs, if you will, a year into it, and she makes twice as much as I make. And so I'm like, I went to school for 4 years, went to college, get this job, and she make twice as what I might. So that was it. That was my entry point. I was like, I'm going to be a realtor. So
Wow.
I got into real estate as a realtor, and it felt like a glove. I mean, it was home. And so,
Nice.
4 or 5 years later, became the number one Remax agent in the state of Iowa when I was 29 years old. And
Wow.
shortly thereafter, sold my Remax, took some time to figure out what I should be doing, and got into real estate investing. And so that was how I
Wow.
got in, fixing, flipping, went through everything in the single family world you could possibly imagine. Beat
Yeah.
my head against the wall. Had a lot of success, but a whole lot of hard work until I stumbled my way into commercial real estate, found ultimately where the real money is made, and have
Wow.
been in commercial real estate now for 4 years, and it's my total focus.
So why don't you think, I guess, more people talk about commercial real estate? And that might be a stupid question, actually, because maybe they do talk about it. Maybe I haven't heard about commercial as much. Is that true that maybe there's more focus on like being a realtor, wholesaling, like the entry level stuff than commercial?
Yeah, I think part of that is because it's so much easier, historically speaking, so much easier to get in and wholesale something, right? You think about what it takes to wholesale a house. Like all of us have some
Right.
interaction with a house, right? We either,
Right.
grew up in one, have, even if you grew up in in an apartment, you clearly know what a house is, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just it becomes more familiar versus how am I going to wholesale a 30 unit apartment complex or a, 10,000 square foot office building. Wholesales absolutely still take place in those environments. Yes, I just
Yeah.
think people's familiarity with those is not that significant. And so you just start with houses. The entry level is pretty darn simple. The conversation's pretty darn easy to
Mhm.
start.
So
Yeah,
so that's it. You think it's more familiarity that breeds, like, people going into it instead of
sure.
just jumping right into commercial where they're like,
Yeah.
"Look, I don't really know the first thing about an apartment complex or,
Yeah.
office
Yeah.
space." Okay,
Yeah,
that
I
makes
think that's
sense.
why, and it just becomes so much easier. And then, eventually at some point you go through and you graduate, if you will, out of the single
Mhm.
families when you start hitting a certain number of door count, or you just hit your head against the wall enough times to find the frustration and challenging
For sure.
and you've got a knowledge base under you to go, all right, well, it's time to let me start finding a way to add a zero to every deal I do. And how do you elevate up and out?
So, what would you say for someone's brand new in investing? Would you say, "Hey, go through the familiarity of wholesaling?" Would you say, "Hey, forget that. You don't even need to waste your time. Go straight to commercial." What
Yeah,
would you
great
say?
question. I think it depends on that person. If you've got some familiarity with commercial in somehow, or maybe you came out of maybe you're just super comfortable with Excel spreadsheets, right? You've got a background in finance, you've got a comfort level there. I would be skipping the single family side. I'd be going straight into commercial. Just know it takes longer. It's a team sport as well. So oftentimes it
Mhm.
takes having a partner, having some other people with you to be able to get over the finish line.
Hmm. Okay. So let's talk about that. Do you feel
Yeah.
like when you jumped into commercial, you said you've been doing it for how long now?
Yeah, 4 years now.
4 years. Do you feel like you could have done it earlier? Do you feel
For
like,
sure.
you
Yeah.
know, it was the right timing or yeah, tell
No,
me about that.
yeah, I mean, all things happen in the right time, so there's nothing worse mentally than looking back and going, "Oh, I should have done this. I wish, dot, dot, dot,"
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
I believe all things happen at the right time for the right reason, whatever that reason happens to be. Sometimes
Right.
it's revealed to us, and sometimes it's one of those mysteries of the unknown, right? We just
Mhm.
have to accept it. But
Okay.
looking back, could I have done it sooner? Knowing what I now know, yes, that it's not as scary as it really is. It's not as complicated as it really is. But I had to go figure those things out, right? And then ultimately make it not scary and not complicated to myself. Take all the information and piece it down into a system that's really digestible for my brain to understand and then ultimately my team to go then use and put it into practice.
That's awesome. Okay, so I had a question about the spreadsheets and the finances that you were
Yeah.
talking about. Like you had a background. Is that necessary? Like, do you need to be able to understand
No,
Excel or Google
no,
Sheets or
no.
finances? Yeah, tell me.
No, no,
No.
no. I mean, you don't have to understand that at all.
Mm.
It would give you a leg up to jump into if you had a background in finance or spreadsheets, you were super comfortable there, and I was making a
Mhm.
decision to go, do I go into commercial or do I go into residential? That would give you a leg up going into commercial from the get go. Now, if you're in
Okay.
the residential space, you've been talking to motivated sellers, you know how to put a deal together, you know how to craft a deal, you know how to contract it, you just know how to get a deal to the finish line. You're on level playing field already.
Mhm. Are you doing most of your deals from brokers or on market, or is it mostly off market and finding,
Good
those
good
opportunities?
question. There's about, I'm gonna say roughly 45% of our deals get done off market direct to seller. About
Okay.
45% of our deals get done off market through a broker, and then
Okay.
about 10% get done on market through a broker.
Oh, wow. So 45% off
Yeah.
market through a broker. So you've developed
Yeah.
relationships with brokers where they won't
Yes.
even put them on there. They'll just
Right.
send them right to you.
Yeah. Most of the deal flow in this country, I would suggest to you, gets done that way. It's
In the
done
commercial
broke
space?
in the commercial space. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Brokers,
Yeah. Well,
there's no like MLS of commercial brokerage. I mean, you have
hmm.
you have Crexi and you have LoopNet, but if you think about an MLS in residential, and listen, I'm still a real estate broker today, and
Yeah.
so although I don't practice, we have a firm. We've got the MLS. We got the MLS in our backyard. It covers a specific geographic area, right? And people plug into it. Now, on the commercial side, commercial brokers do not list their properties there on that machine on the MLS. It does not occur, and
Hmm.
so it is done through a network. Most of those deals done are either off market broker working through their own buyer list, their own clientele, or they'll take it to market. You'll see it on Crexy or on LoopNet or on their own commercial websites, and they get done with other brokers, right? They network with other brokers and get deals done that way.
So when you say that there's no MLS, is that true for the United States or is that just true
Yes.
for Iowa?
No, true
Oh,
for the United
huh.
States. Yeah, there's no commercial
Wow.
MLS. You have the
Wow.
residential MLS, which the National Association of Realtors, right? Everybody comes through that umbrella, that vertical, if you will. It's all residential driven,
Wow.
but
Okay. I thought there
commercial. Yeah.
was. Well, that's very interesting. Okay. So when they do put you
Yeah.
said that 5% came on from on market on the ML. Didn't you say 5% went on the
Yep.
MLS?
Yep. 10% from on market
10%.
properties. So you'll see those on Crexy or LoopNet. If you want to call those the MLS, this is close to an MLS. I'm using that in quotes because
Mm.
it's really not the same. It's as close
Yeah.
to a national MLS as it gets.
Why is that? You think they would do that?
Because if you think about the residential real estate agents, most of those people, the overwhelming majority of houses listed by an agent are sold by another agent. So almost always are there two agents involved in every transaction,
Okay.
overwhelming majority. And on the commercial side, it's just not the case. People have a clientele of buyers. It is significantly relationship driven. And in what one has to know about a property is much greater than what one has to know about a house. And so that's why you find people oftentimes working with the one agent, not having their own agent. You typically percentage wise, there's one agent involved in those transactions.
Wow, sounds like my kind of game. I'm all about the relationships. That
Yeah,
sounds fun.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because you think about, hey, what's the likelihood of you going and having a residential agent who can find you deal after deal after deal that are good
Mhm.
deals for you to go rehab or wholesale or whatever? Like they don't come across those. That's not what they do. They stumble across those when they're in the process of listing retail properties, right? But
Yeah.
a commercial agent who would specialize in whatever that happens to be, apartments, industrial, office, self-storage, whatever that specific asset class that they would specialize in. The odds have it that they come across a deal that lines up for you, probably pretty darn good because they specialize in an asset class and they're looking for deals, for opportunities for other investors to place dollars and
Hmm.
cents.
Wow. Okay. And so you're mainly are you buying these when you're in commercial? Are you lining these up with are you like doing the agent thing? What are you
No,
specifically
no, no.
focused on
Yeah,
in your
yeah, yeah.
commercial?
So I happen to be an agent, but I do not practice. We have a brokerage. And so our brokerage, other agents sell houses and do various things, right? But that's not what I
Okay.
do. No, I'm an investor through and through. There's two sides to my business. Well, really three sides to the business. On our investment side, we buy commercial property. So I focus on really my backyard of Des Moines, Iowa, and we'll
Okay.
buy one of six major asset classes, apartments, self-storage, mobile home parks. In fact, we just closed on a mobile home park a week ago today. So
Oh
we just bought our
wow.
very first mobile home park.
How do you feel?
Really darn good. I mean, I'm excited
That's
about it. We're
exciting.
going through. It's going to plan. First weekend, you're like, all right, let's get all these ducks lined up, get them all lined up in a row.
That's awesome.
It's going really well. So,
Congrats.
uh,
I think that's
yeah,
awesome.
no, man, I'm pumped about it. I appreciate it. Yeah, America's Last Stand at affordable housing. It's really good. But self storage units. We own self storage units as well, office and retail. So we
Was it
really focus
scary
on
to
six.
was it s sorry, was it scary to get into this? I mean, it sounds like you're doing some big moves. I mean, I'd be a little nervous.
Yeah,
How did you feel?
no, good question. My first property into this was an 8-unit apartment. So, I'd been in houses. The other side of our business, the second side of our business is we still fix and flip. I'm not really involved in that,
Mhm.
process wise. My team is, and so we still fix and flip. It's still bread and butter, knowing that the housing market in my backyard super well. And so that's what 4 years ago, that was my first step into it. I bought a distressed 8-unit apartment complex, still own it today. And to move out of single family into an 8-unit, it wasn't that big of step. It wasn't that big
Mhm.
of leap for me. It wasn't that scary. Now, fast
Yeah.
forward the next year, my second purchase was I'm rounding, say a 17,000 square foot industrial building in which the largest grocery chain in my city operates a bakery out of. Now that was
Oh.
different because it's different, totally different asset, different analysis. It took getting some understanding. And then from there, it just snowballed in terms of from there. I was like, all right, got a good grasp. Now what else? How else can we buy? Bought a
Wow.
retail building and then have just snowballed in terms of what we bought.
When you're buying these properties, are you usually buying them are they distressed themselves, like the properties and you're rehabbing and getting them up? Or is it the distressed seller who's like, "Hey, look, I'm just done," or what are you really finding, when
Yeah.
you're trying to buy these?
No, that's a great question. Yeah, we're trying to find what I call capital multiplier opportunities. And so what I mean by that is, yes, sometimes it's a distressed seller, but that's rare. The very first one I bought was a seller. He was not distressed. He was like emotionally distressed. So it owned
Mhm,
the property for like ever. And like 9 inches of rain came through the city in about a 90-minute period. It was an eightplex and
mhm.
top down, four up, four down, and the bottom four had taken a lot of water. And so overnight, the 4 tenants moved out because the bottom
Oh,
4
man.
units took a lot of water, and so the bottom 4 tenants moved out, and he was like, "I'm done." And so at that point, I was dealing with an emotionally distressed seller, if you will,
Yeah,
not
not
financially.
financially destroyed, yeah.
Owned it free and clear, yeah, for years and years.
Got it.
And so at that point, went in and did that. Now, past that, what I'm looking for are capital multiplier opportunities. By that, I mean, how can we go in and invest, a little, meaning we buy, well, when I say a little, I mean, we buy a property, whatever the size it happens to be, we put a percentage of it down, right? We'll go get a loan,
Mhm,
put a percentage down, and we'll make some tweaks to it. Can we increase the income? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes you're in a lease that's multiple years long. That's not changing. Can we reduce the
mhm.
expenses? Oftentimes, yes is the answer. So cool. My goal is to increase income, reduce expenses so that the bottom line grows and we get a multiplier effect.
No, I was just gonna real quick, I had a question about reduce
Yeah.
expenses, like, what kind of expenses could you reduce on, like, a industrial giant building? Like, or is it
Depends. Yeah, it
utilities
depends.
or
It depends on the property. That's a good question. Industrial is probably not the best example of our ability to reduce the expenses. Our intent there is to buy those just super well. But let's
okay.
say for example, we bought a strip mall that had the income fixed, so I couldn't do anything with that. But the expenses could be so renegotiate garbage contracts. So I'll give you an example of how
Mm,
we multiply the value of a property. I just renegotiated the garbage contract on the mobile home park we just bought. It
wow,
took me, you ready for this, Nathan? Took me
I'm
7
ready.
emails, 7 emails. I renegotiated the value of the price of our contract by about $3,300
Okay.
and at an 8 cap. So we're actually have decided to resell this mobile home park, and I'll tell you why in a second. But at
Mhm.
an 8 cap, it added just over $40,000 of value to the property.
Wow.
That's what I mean by that capital multiplier opportunity. We'd simply, in about 15 minutes and 7 emails, have increased the value of the property by $40,000.
That is
So
amazing. That's so cool, and that probably
we're
felt really good.
yeah, we're executing on that in a couple of different ways on that mobile home park. And in fact, we bought it a week ago today. It goes for sale tomorrow. Paid 552 for it. Again, I'm rounding. It goes for sale tomorrow at 1,131,000 because of the changes that we've made in the property
Wow, that's amazing.
already in a 7-day period. Right. There's some
Now,
once you understand this, there's low-hanging fruit. Can anybody email the garbage company and ask for a new price? Like
you
that's
didn't
easy,
you didn't
right?
you didn't wanna hop on a phone call, you just went easy with it and just sent an email.
So
That's
simple. I mean,
awesome.
anybody can do that, right? There's some low-hanging fruit, and on this one, seriously low-hanging fruit to be able to do.
That is really awesome. I love that you're able to do that. And, so let's talk about, so you got mobile home parks, you got,
Yeah.
industrial units, multi-units, uh man, it's just you blew my mind a little bit with that one. I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand that just off of something like that, you're able to increase the value that much. Now, are you buying these with cash most of the time? Are you getting funding? How does the funding
Yeah,
work?
it varies. Most of the time we're getting funding. Most of the time we're borrowing.
Okay,
Most of the,
okay.
it's by preference to buy, own, and operate, keep a property. And the industrial buildings are perfect for that. So you asked a really good question, Nathan. You asked, how in the world, you got an industrial property, how can you reduce the expenses? And the answer is oftentimes you cannot because we're in a triple net lease. And what I mean by that is that the tenant pays all the expenses. And so the rent we get is our net income, right?
Got it.
Expenses, there are no expenses. So what I'd love to be able to do is take a property like the mobile home park, which is more management intense than a industrial property, is to take a
Mhm.
mobile home park to churn that into cash and then put that cash to work in an industrial setting where my management, my time, energy, effort is near zero on an annual basis.
Wow. Do you usually try to do you try to get the seller when you're working with them off market to finance you if they own it
Yeah.
outright, or
Yeah,
do
yes. Yeah, yes, that is the goal. Some
okay,
rarely. We've been able to do it once, and I can
okay,
tell you about that deal. That was a really a great deal. So, yes, I would love to do it. I would love to tell you they all do it. So we've been able to
yes,
get it.
yes,
It's just not that often. And sometimes, why? Because they still owe on the property. They still owe a really good chunk, and sub twos in the commercial world don't look like sub twos in the residential world, because commercial loans and residential loans are not the same. The ability
okay.
to call a commercial loan is significant. So they just don't happen that often.
Yeah, so if someone was thinking sub 2 was the play, then it's more difficult because of all the
Yeah.
qualifications, I guess, or they can call it due easier
They can
more
call it they
easily?
can call it due, and every year on a commercial loan, you have reporting requirements, meaning every year in all my commercial loans, I have to provide them tax returns. I have to
Yeah,
provide them a whole balance sheet. I gotta provide them a whole bunch of information. So they see what's going on, and if you were to not send that because you did a sub 2, they're
mhm.
gonna go look at the transfer and go, "All right, we're calling the loan due."
You're
They're
done
just
for.
they're just they're just on top of it versus on the
Yeah.
residential side, different story. So you asked a question. If you've got time, I'll be happy to give you another example on our self-storage
I
about how
love
we
I
did.
love talking about this. I think this is
Yeah.
amazing. It's awesome.
So did a self-storage deal with a partner. So the third piece of my business is, we have an education business where I teach and train people how to get into this industry. And so on occasion, I
Perfect.
partner, I buy a property with a partner in their market, their backyard. So
Mhm.
I bought a property with a partner, self-storage units, about 152 self-storage units out of Indiana, and just outside of Indianapolis, a suburb there. That particular one, we ended up negotiating. It was a $1.4 million purchase. We negotiated a seller financing carryback of 1.2 million. So we put $200,000 down,
Mhm.
negotiated seller financing, interest only at 5%,
Mhm.
interest only financing 5% for 20 years, Nathan.
Nice.
20 year,
Nice.
20 year. So it's, and then I sweetened it up. We did a couple other things on top of this. It's non-recourse, of course, right?
Mhm.
Non-recourse. It's
For the
transferable.
listeners
Yeah.
that might not know what that means, what do you mean by
Yeah.
non-recourse?
Non-recourse means that if we default, right? Something happens, we can't pay for whatever reason, something just it doesn't go well, and
Mhm.
we decide, hey, we're done. We give the property back, and
Oh,
our two
wow.
hundred
Okay.
thousand dollars down payment. That's the only money they get. They don't come. They don't get to ask for more money. Unlike a
Gotcha.
bank, you're going to go buy an industrial property. You're going to sign personal recourse, meaning if you default on this, they foreclose on this. They're coming after you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like, that's a person is that a same thing as a personal
Personal guarantee.
guarantee?
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
you
it.
got it.
Got it.
All right. So 1.2 million non-recourse, and I made it transferable, which means this, Nathan. We sell the property, we get this thing up, sell the property at profit. We can move that debt to another property.
Wow.
So I can take that $1.2 million, say we, make up a number. We sell it for 1.5. We're going to get $300,000 in cash at closing. Great. I can then take
Okay.
that $1.2 million debt. I can go buy another property and take that
Wow.
debt with us.
How were you able was that something you had to agree with the seller to be able to
Exactly.
do? To take
Yep. Yep.
to take his debt? Is that right?
Yeah, to take the debt. Yeah, to take the note, the money we owe him, right? Because what he became super interested in is he wanted cash flow, not cash now.
Okay.
He was loved the idea of, hey, I have a property that I know, like, and trust. I know that property. I'm comfortable with that property, the self-storage unit, and
Mhm.
I know it cash flow. I know this thing works. So if you want to give me 5% interest only and you want to do it for 20 years, that sounds great to me. I'll just live off that cash flow.
Wow. That's amazing. 5%, and what was at 1.2? So he was
1.2 million.
making quite a bit
60
on that.
yeah. So now he's making 60 grand a year, right? 60 grand a year
Yeah.
on interest. And he's thinking, oh man, I get paid off $1.2 million in 20 years. I get a giant payday. Nathan, what have we
Mhm.
seen in the last 12 months when it comes to inflation? I mean,
Prices going up.
prices going up like crazy. So a dollar today is not worth a dollar a year from now, and it wasn't worth a dollar a year ago, right?
Mhm.
So $1.2 million, would you rather have $1.2 million today or in 20 years? I'm
That's a
I'm
good
guessing
question.
I'm gue
It dep
I'm guessing with the inflation at 7 or 8%, you take $1.2 million today. Because if I can go take $1.2 million today, invest it, it's gonna be worth a whole lot more 20 years from now, right?
versus just waiting and then getting that, and it's you're saying worth less, right?
Absolutely worth less. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you invested that correctly over the course of 20 years, put it into a model, it's probably worth half as much, probably worth 600 grand. So in my mind, we're paying them in 20 years with significantly discounted dollars.
So for him, do you think that was a smart move on his end to just take the
Uh,
cash flow, and what do you think?
it's his comfort level. That's a good question. Everybody always asks, when somebody sells a property, when somebody buys a property, in his mind, I think he felt like he got a really good deal, and that's
Right.
great because that's exactly what he wanted, right? He wanted cash flow, and he's
Yeah.
comfortable with it. That's terrific. I'm viewing this from a very different perspective. His perspective is, I want to go sale and I want cash flow. Well, it's terrific. He won in that scenario. I am the investor. I'm not interested in selling, and I'm not interested in the cash flow from a sale of a property. I'm interested in buying
Mhm.
a property to be able to get a higher rate of return, to have a capital multiplier property where I can invest a little and I can get a whole lot back because we got our money compounded. And I think
I
in that
love it.
scenario, it becomes a win-win for both of us.
I love it, and that's what it's all about, right? Is finding opportunities where everybody feels good about it, so
Correct.
everyone can walk away. So you're not necessarily looking f did you say you don't really care too much about the cash flow, like making a certain amount, but you want is that what you said? Just
Yeah,
that
in
so I
that
can understand?
scenario, I was trying to distinction between his cash flow, that's all he cared about, and ours, I'm not interested in sitting on a beach and cashing checks. I'm interested in going
Mhm,
buying a deal, right? That
mhm,
does produce us cash flow. That produces us a
of course.
high rate of return.
Yeah, because I think sometimes I've heard of investors that, like, purchase properties to, avoid taxes, and I don't know if, like, you take on deals that don't cash flow, or maybe you're losing money in order to just, like, help with taxes. I don't know too much about that
Yeah.
stuff. That's a little above
Yeah.
me, but I just didn't know
Yes.
if you look at deals like that and you're like, "This isn't a good deal, but it would help me out."
The
Yeah,
old
I
saying
don't
is
know.
cash is king, and I think the correct saying is cash flow is king. The ability
Mhm.
for a property to properly cash flow, for you to pay your debt and you to pay your investor or yourself back, and or just pay yourself on an ongoing basis. I think that's key. I don't ever buy anything. In my mind, those tax benefits are a cherry on top. They don't make the
Okay.
deal. They just make the deal better.
Alright, so you're not really buying for that reason, it's gotta cash flow.
It's
Got
gotta
it.
cash, so, yeah, yeah, I don't for me, it's never made sense to just chase that tax benefit because if something has a negative cash flow to it, um, in my opinion, one's speculating,
Yeah.
just doesn't make sense.
Well, without doing deals like you have in this commercial space, my concern in doing this would be like, what if I bought a strip mall and then nobody wanted to go to that area anymore? Would I be stuck with a property that I can't, nobody wants to pay rent on? Like, have you had that thought too? Like, do you do a ton of research to be like, no, this is a good area? Like, tell me
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. No, you'd want to do research. Yes. Now, I mean, think about a house. If you buy a house to rent it, most people don't have a thought like, what happens if nobody wants to rent it? Now, what
Hmm.
happens, right? There's some percentage of vacancy, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7%, depending where you are. Some markets it's higher. That means, every so often it's going to be vacant for a period of time. Well, the same's true in commercial. So, how do we minimize that? Go and understand the market, do a deep dive, have a clear understanding of what the vacancy looks like, and we budget for that. I put a line item in there to specifically budget for vacancy, knowing that sooner or later, any property that we have is going to be vacant for a period of time.
Oh, okay. So you put that inside. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's okay. That makes it
absolutely.
just like a normal. Yeah.
Just
Like
imagine
a
budgeting
normal
for
cost.
your roof to go bad or your furnace to go bad, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pay your debt. I budget for that too. Budgeting for the fact that it's gonna go vacant, same thing.
I love it. Man, this sounds awesome. I mean, I haven't really dived into the world of commercial because I just went right into
Well,
wholesaling, right, single family.
it feels so scary, so overwhelming. It's hard to understand. It can be quite intimidating. The world, the verbiage that one uses, the lingo that one uses, it can be a lot. It can be too much to take in. And so, you
Right.
know, what I've done is we created our education program this year to help folks give a lot away for free for them to
Mhm.
have an understanding of how do I even get into this? How do I break into the commercial real estate industry? How do I just get my first building or my next building, whatever that building happens to be? And so, I'd be happy to give, if some folks want it, I'd be happy to give them away a free resource so they can understand it. How do you get rich in
100%.
this? Yeah, man. How do you get rich in this? What I call the 20x niche. And what I mean by that is for us, the average house in this country cash flows $150 a month as a rental house. For us, Our line is $3,000 a month. I don't buy a property unless the cash flows at least $3,000 a month, 20 times that of a single family house. So getting rich in the 20X niche, you guys can get the free report. I wrote this piece. So let me give it to you. It's the website is legacyimpactpartners.com/gift, GIFT. Legacy
Give me that.
Impact,
Give me yeah. Legacy. I'm actually writing it down. Legacy
yeah,
Impact
partners.com.
Partners. Okay.
Yeah, forward
Okay.
slash gift, GIFT. And I'll throw it in there, see if it came across that chat for you
Yeah, I
there.
actually did. So I got it scrolling across the bottom here if you
There
can
you go.
see that. So tell me, what is this that you're giving out? If this is a way to yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, getting rich in the 20X next. I'm ultimately, I call it the capital multiplier property secrets revealed. Just to give
Hmm.
you a deep dive understanding about how do you get into this industry? How do you break in and how do you take advantage of these types of deals? And get that free report. I'll certainly we do some free classes every so often. I know we're going to have one coming up in January. Registration's not open yet, but certainly if you get that free report, you'll be on the email list. And when we get that free class that's opening, that'll open up here in the coming weeks, I'll make sure I email you guys so you guys know it's available and you can take advantage of it.
Yes,
Totally free. So you guys can get a really good understanding about what this is, and then in the free class, actually how to do it. Because I will give away actual resources
I
to
love
actually
it.
be able to do it.
So let me ask you this. So with this information, you think someone like going to this site, I haven't gone there yet, but you think they could start taking a little bit of action?
Yeah, I think you can definitely take some action. I think the report will give you a really good understanding. You'll have
Mhm.
some ability to take action, yes, but I think the class that's coming up with certainty because I've done it multiple times here this year. I know with certainty that piece will get you right on the perfect track to take action. This will get you a better understanding to go, hey, maybe is this for me? Is this something that even gets me excited about it? Because if you don't get
Yeah,
excited about it, it's not for you, right? Because we only do things that we get excited about right
that's
that we
right.
plug into, right? So that'll get you better understanding.
Do you wholesale a lot of your commercial properties you get under contract, or you just to take them down if they're a good
Great,
deal?
great question. I'm going in my memory bank. We double closed an apartment, 2 apartments this year.
Hmm.
And one was like $124,000. One was like, I'm rounding, but one was like
Hmm.
$136,000 net here. So we've double closed. So you're at 250,000 roughly there.
Oh, yeah, that's
We have
awesome.
another one under contract today, which we will likely assign.
Okay.
And then we have taken, closed and resold other properties, but taken
Any
some
reason
things
for
down.
the double close versus just assigning those two?
It just became for those particular transactions, it just became a little easier, a little cleaner.
Yeah, cleaner. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hey, I think what you've given us to the community, the painless wholesaling, investor drive community. I think you've made getting into commercial, if that's anything that people want to do. I want to do it. I think you've
Yeah.
made it less painful, right? And you've
Yes.
made it. You've helped us out. Me being in this industry for like 4 years. That's how long I've started, and I have no idea. So you've taught me a lot today, and that's awesome.
No,
I
no,
appreciate
it's
it.
great, man. Hopefully, I appreciate that. Hopefully, I was able to add some value to your folks here, and and I love what you do, man. Your ability to do this, to share with the world, and make things easier, dude. It's great. So keep up the good work.
That's the goal. That's what we're here for. Well, hey, I appreciate your time, and I mean, I'd love to have you back in the future. I think anybody that needs to reach out to you, what would be the best way to get to you? Is it the website, and they can contact you from there, or what's the best way that they
Yeah.
can reach out
Oh, just
to you?
get me on. That's definitely get on there because you'll get on an email list, and then that way, that's how we'll get you emailed out when we open up registration for the free master class that's coming up here in January. But if you want to hit me up on Facebook, and that's probably the absolute best way. That's probably the social network I'm most active on.
Perfect. All right. Well, it sounds like you're a great resource for commercial. Now, this is the last thing I wanted to ask you. So, when we talk about commercial, is commercial like an umbrella? Does it like cover multi-unit, industrial? Does it cover everything? Because sometimes when
Everything.
I kind of
Yeah.
separate multifamily, but it
Yeah.
sounds like
Yeah.
commercial, multifamily are together.
Yeah, commercial is all encompassing. It is everything, relative to multi doors. It's 5 doors up gets classified as commercial. And then what do I focus on is really the 6 major asset classes inside of commercial. So there's a whole
That's
everything
awesome.
falls under there. We focus on the big 6 that are like 85, 90% of all the markets in this, all real estate in the country.
So I understand you can do all of them, but if you were to be known as like one thing, what would you want to be known for? Would it be mobile homes? Would it be multi units? Would it be industrial, like storage
Oh,
units?
great question. What do I want to be known for? The person who helps people break into commercial real estate. That would be the one thing I'd want to be known for and help them
Love it.
find their asset class. We've got a wonderful asset class, and you guys will get this in the master class. The ability to figure out what asset should I be in, right? For some people, it's
Got it.
industrial, it's mobile homes, it's whatever it may be. And we've got a fun tool that some people come in and go, "Oh, I think I want to be in this." We've got an awesome tool that we literally have people go through, fill out questions, and then have a scoring mechanism that scores it up to rank your top asset classes, top to bottom. And you
Wow.
go, "Oh my gosh, I totally this." When you understand the benefits of the asset class, that's what gets you excited about it.
That is exciting because my limited knowledge of the commercial space was like I thought you would have to just really hone in, but it sounds like you kind of give the options and you let people know what asset class is best instead of just being like, "Hey, mobile home, I'm the mobile home guy. This is all you need to
Yeah.
do." Sounds like you help people decide what's best for them. That's
Well,
awesome.
yeah, here's why, Nathan. If you found a house, a townhome, a piece of land that was a deal, would you buy it?
Yeah, of course.
Well, so a mobile home park, self-storage unit, office building, if it's a deal, I wanna buy it. I'm in Des Moines, Iowa. It's 500,000 people, plus or minus. My comfort level is my backyard, and so I just had to get really good at finding deals and really good at understanding multiple asset classes. That's my comfort level, and I don't
I
wanna let a
love it.
good deal right? If you turn over a good deal, I don't wanna let a good deal walk down the street past me. I wanna put that baby to bed.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with you. Well, we'll have to have you back. I
I would
honestly,
love it.
maybe we can talk after this podcast a little bit. We can after we end this live because I want to help you promote your masterclass if I can
Oh,
help you out.
wonderful. That'd be great. Yeah, I appreciate
Cool.
that. Thanks so much for having
All
me
right,
on, Nathan.
everybody. Anytime, everybody. We're out. It's great having you on, Neil. Reach out to him if you need him. Talk to you guys later.